everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Cavemas. After yesterday's shenanigans and carry on, it's nice to return to a slightly more traditional Cavemas video today. For those of you that couldn't catch the live stream yesterday, it should be up as a VOD now. If not, it will be up in video form in the next few hours, fingers crossed. So as I said, today we're taking a bit more of the traditional Cavemas route, and we're going to do a spot of colouring in Johanna Basford's Johanna's Christmas. So we're going to have a nice relaxing day today, enjoy some festive spirit, but also we have a giveaway today as well, the first of 4 giveaways for the entirety of Cavemas. So stay tuned till the end of the video if you want to find out what's up for grabs and how to enter. So all that remains is to say, let's get going. So nice to be here and so nice to start off our tradition of being in Johanna's Christmas. So this is quite interesting. I'm going to have to move my candle out of the way in case things catch fire. So I have actually started an image in here. And it is this very festive looking Christmas wreath. And I have been using Caran D'ache Pablo pencils. And this is a set of pencils that I have just completed recently. I've been saving up for these and buying them open stock for probably a couple of years now, and I finally have the full set of 120 pencils, and I love these pencils. They're nice and soft, they're oil based. You guys all know this already. If you haven't watched the review video I did on these pencils, I will link that down in the description and possibly the end card for you as well, and you can go and check that out. So yes, I digress. I did the first quarter of this wreath. There's actually a lot more to this than you would think just by looking at it. This actually took a long time. And I finished this first quarter and I just feel like it's kind of bold looking, it's quite sparse, and I'm wondering if maybe I could add in some extra bits. You might remember some time ago we did some colouring tutorials in Hannah Carlson's Seasons, and I did a sort of really soft grey outline. I was maybe thinking something like that as well. But what I'm going to do first is we're going to work on this bottom right hand quarter here. And I am going to show you the colours and pencils that I have used in this top part, and we'll do that first and then we can work on enhancing our wreath and see how it turns out. When I have finished colouring the full image, I'm not going to colour all this today obviously because we'd be here forever. When I have finished colouring this image, I will post it on the community tab and also over on Facebook and Instagram so that you can see what it looks like in completed form. I'm going to list all the pencils I've got first, and I'll list them here for you so that you can see what they are. So the first pencil is Fast Orange, Flame Red, Scarlet, Carmine, Moss Green, Yellow Green, Spruce Green, my very favourite Dark Green, Sepia, and Bistre. Sepia and Bistre I used more for the little robin that's kind of hanging out in the corner of this picture up here. He's not finished yet either, but we'll get to him. I'm more concerned about getting on with some of this. So yeah, I'm going to start with the, let's start with the flowers. That's the better idea. I'll do the flowers and berries first, so we'll do all the red bits first. And we'll get them out the way. So these are obviously I'm using the kind of reddish, orange-ish, pinkish pencils for this part. Now, I haven't coloured any of these leaves. There isn't any in this section. And I think I'm going to start with them. And I am going to start with this Fast Orange. Orange. And I want the interior part of these leaves to be this nice yellowish orange colour, I think. I'm not entirely convinced yet, but I think. I'll pop a little bit of that down in there. I love the lay down on these pencils, it's so nice. Yeah, and I think what I'll do is I will use the Carmine and we'll maybe get a bit of a sort of blended gradient here. That would be really nice actually, that would be really cool. Let's zoom in a bit now. The only thing is when I zoom in like that, you can't see all my lovely table scatter. Oh, there we go, look. Get a little festive bit up the side here. Oh, there we go. Does that make you all feel a bit more festive? Oh, okay, yeah, so the Carmine here. And we'll get that going first. Oh, like so. Ooh. That's going to be really pretty, especially against a green backdrop. And what we'll do is we'll make the outside edge of these leaves green. That's going to look amazing. So I'm just going back to the fast orange and I'm just going to start to blend that outwards and upwards so that we're going to get a nice rich colour there as well. Ooh, that is lovely. Almost looks fiery, doesn't it? Fiery, fire, fire. Now, yeah, let's just intensify this a little bit. I like that. So I'm taking this opportunity today, get my festiveness together, because Mama and Papa Jim are due to descend. And when they arrive, I think it's going to be a wee bit chaotic for the first couple of days. And I don't think I'm going to get much peace to do Cavemas stuff. So I thought I would take this opportunity today before they arrive and really get into the festive spirit. So I'm very much enjoying that, and I think I've made a sensible decision. Okay, that's marvellous, and that's bringing a really nice little pop of colour to that as well. So I'm just going to do this one the same. I'm not going to do anything differently. So start with this fast orange. So next up are our holly berries, and I've only got 2 sets in this section. I've got these ones here and I've got these ones over here, so this isn't going to take too long at all. And I'm using the scarlet pencil for this. And basically I'm just leaving a white patch. So I'm going to show you on a scrap of paper here so that I can do it a little bit bigger to start with. So if this, say this is our berry, and all I'm doing is when I'm colouring, I am coming round this way because I have got a light source on this side. So when I'm colouring, I am leaving just this little sort of semicircle of white, like this, and then darkening down round about to give me that highlight effect. Now obviously I'm building the colour up in the rest of the berry so that it stands out a little bit more, but I'm not actually drawing it in per se, I'm just omitting to colour that area. So that's what I'm doing in these teeny weeny tiny spaces, and it's not much, and it doesn't need to be much to have an impact. You only need the smallest little space like that, and that's literally all you need. So, and I say this a lot as well, and I know I do, but don't painstake over this. It's such a small detail. There's no point obsessing and getting really, really concerned with it. So the only other thing I'm going to do to these berries now is I'm going to take the carmine pencil and I'm going to run a C shape round this right hand side. Obviously, if you've got your highlight on the right hand side, you would be doing it in the bottom left. Be a mirror image. I'm just making sure I've got a sharp pencil. And literally just run that down there to give it a little bit of depth, make it make it a bit more 3D and make it a little bit richer. And that's literally it for the berries. So we're not doing complicated stuff. Why would we want to be doing complicated stuff? We want to be relaxed and we want to be feeling in a nice, easy mood, because that's the whole point of adult colouring, isn't it? We want to feel good about what we're doing. And as if we don't have a care in the world. Keeping it simple can really, really help with stuff like that, I find. Not always, but most of the time. As Mr. Jim would say, most of the time. And again, just back in with this carmine now. Oh, makes it look, the berries look really juicy when I do that. Juicy. There we go. Oh, look at those fur berries. So the next thing that's a similar colour is, of course, these flowers here. And we're going to, I've developed a formula for this based on the first one I did a bit further up. Based on this one up here. So it's going to look like this, hopefully, she says. Yeah, okay, it'll be fine, don't worry. Okay, so for this one, we are going to start with the flame red. And we're going to do these inner petals here. So basically I just stuck with my my light source and made the opposite corner darker and just left a slightly lighter edge. And just in that darker part added a tiny little bit of the scarlet just to give it some depth. And really that's it for these interior petals. I'm keeping this top edge quite light here, Again, just thinking about, you know, these petals aren't going to be flat. And maybe that edge is catching a wee bit of light there. Yeah, maybe this edge not so much, like that. Okay, for these larger sections here, we're going to start with the scarlet this time. So that's the colour that we've just been using here. And we're going to move down into the carmine. Now, I kind of split these leaves into where these little marks are. I kind of made that a divide for myself. And if I was going to do anything interesting on each particular petal, that's where I would go for it. So the likes of this one, I'm going to pop a layer of this scarlet down here. Now, I imagine that this is kind of like curved up the way that this one kind of looks curled round. So I'm thinking to myself that the palest part's probably going to be around here, which ties in with where we've got our little highlight on our orange petals in the centre part there. So if we do this first, and then I'm going to grab this carmine. I don't know what I was going to call that there, but it wasn't carmine. And I'm going to put a little bit of an edge round this, you know, as if it's maybe not curled over necessarily, but it's folded up with the light source behind it. And we're going to make that look quite subtle, but that's just the starting point. So if I go back to my scarlet now and just start working over that, layer it up a little bit. We'll maybe have this section in here a wee bit darker, and as it comes up round here, be a bit more interesting. Oh, and again we'll do the same round this other side. Okay, so let's start working our way around now. So again, very similar technique. Obviously I don't want each of the petals to be incredibly uniform to the one next door, because that would be boring, but we do want to keep that sense of they do belong to the same flower. I'll run that pink down that middle part as well there. And then I can build up some of the scarlet over the top there. I just want it to be pretty. Now I've got a feeling this one here is going to be mostly darker. So I'm going to put my layer of scarlet down. Like so. And I'm mostly going to use my carmine here. Don't know how I feel about that one, but yeah, I'll let it slide. And this little turned over bit, I'm just going to make carmine. I think this side, the lighter side, is going to be this right hand side, because it's not tucked in. A lot darker, and the lightest part's going to be up here. So again, maybe a bit of carmine in there. Yeah, ooh, yeah. So now sitting, waiting and anticipating the weather forecast. It's a little early for us, but we are apparently going to get some snow. Normally we don't get snow until the sort of the middle of January. It's usually quite mild here up until the end of the year, but the forecast is saying otherwise, so I'll be interested to see what happens. I'm hoping it doesn't come too much, but it has definitely been colder this last couple of weeks. It's so... Yeah, you can't just nip out in a t-shirt now. Those days are long gone, which is a shame because I like nipping out in a t-shirt. And I'll just do the same with this one here. And I think here, where I've got my pencil just now, would be the lightest patch. Nice deep bit of colour. Now for this centre part, I kept this really simple as well. I took the fast orange, which is what we'd been using on our fiery leaves here, and basically just solid colour that middle part and all the little sections around the outside. Make sure I was putting a couple of layers down there, and then just taking the flame red and adding a little bit of that in, just for a little bit of texture. Again, thinking about my light source, so putting that down there. And that is literally it for those flowers. So if I zoom out a little bit now, I can show you. You can see that these two are a bit more matte. Come on, autofocus, you can do it. There we go. Yeah, so you can see these are quite similar. So again, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. There's no point in me sitting yabbering away and talking a load of rubbish when I'm doing exactly the same thing. I will not be doing anything different. And once I've got that done, we will start colouring some foliage and using up some of our lovely green pencils that we've got here. So I'll catch you up in just a moment. So I've got a couple of colour schemes for my foliage here now that I've finished off my little flowers, and they all incorporate the same set of pencils. So if we just take a quick duck up here, you can see that I have got certain combinations for the leaves that belong to these flowers. and then different ones for the holly leaves and these sort of club shaped leaves as well. So let's get on with that. So I've got a little sneaky bit of holly here that I didn't finish up before. And the main colours they were using were the darkest greens, so that is the dark green, the spruce green, but I was also using a little bit of the sepia as well, just to get those really dark edges like down in, like in at the back here. Now I have to say I had no particular method to this. Even when I was doing each leaf, I was literally just taking it as it comes. Literally just taking it as it comes. So starting with a layer of the spruce green is always a good idea though. Definitely always a good idea. It gives you a base to decide what you want to do. So I think with this one I'll have a gradual transition from the dark green into the spruce green. And I more or less ignored the patterns that are on some of these leaves. I'm not really fond of things like that anyway, but yeah, I just kind of ignored it, honestly. So we can see here, I'll maybe keep that dark down there, and then I can just switch back here. I'll just build up some layers here. Yeah, pretty happy with that. And for some reason with these leaves with the lines on them, I tend to, like, I've gone for a darker theme with these ones, but again, not necessarily paying attention to those lines in any way, shape or form. And that's pretty much what I'm going to do right. I'm such a rebel. Such a rebel. But yeah, so again we can have this darker here. And then maybe darker in here. So maybe this particular holly leaf is affected by the heat, or maybe it's just wonky. Maybe it's bent itself into a little bit of a U shape. Yeah, I'm quite liking that. I'm quite liking that. So I'm going to do the same on this other side as well. I'll maybe employ more dark areas because it's tucked in behind this. I'm going to call these the fire leaves. Fire, fire! That seems like fun. So let's get a little bit of that on the go in there and match it up with this side. Looks fairly good. Okay, so we'll carry on with these ones here now. Might as well do all the holly leaves together. Now I think with this one it'll have a nice dark patch down the middle. Oh yeah. And then we'll maybe feather out from there. I can get zoomed in a little bit again, a little bit far away there. And we can work in this spruce green around the outside like these. There we go. Oh, it's going to be so pretty. I really enjoy these two shades of green, they're lovely. Again, just give it a bit of dimension without, without going sort of too crazy. It does feel a bit pale though, so I'm going to use my other green, my spruce green. Just on top of that. I don't want it looking really washed out. Much as I'm quite comfortable with having a bit of the paper showing through, I think you have to be careful with how you use that. As I say, it looks a bit peely-wally, a bit washed out. I'm going to have this one really dark. So I'm going to take my sepia here. It's the first time I've used the sepia. And I'm just going to add in almost like a shadow. You would think of it that way, but I'm keeping my pressure light because I don't want it to be too overbearing. So just in that bottom section there. And you can see the difference that's made even before I blend it in with some of the dark green. And it just adds that extra, little dimension to what you're doing. And this one, I'm going to match this to one I've got up the very top. So this sort of centre section was quite dark. Kind of like what we just did with this one down here. So I'll do that bit first. Marvellous. And then back to my spruce green, and I'll get this down over this entire leaf. I'll put up a wee bit, that better? Yes. So I'm just going to use a light layer of the dark green. Again, down this bottom edge. I'm going to have this be a lot lighter than the one that I've just done round here. And I'm going to layer that up with the spruce green. Okay, so we're starting to come along now. Again, this last little group of holly leaves here, I'm just going to whiz through them just now, and then I want to show you what I've done with the leaves that belong to the flowers we'll do our little fire leaves that we've got going on here. And then we need to try and get a bit creative and think up a way to just make this look a little bit fuller, a bit more va-va-voomy. So, but we'll get to that, we'll get to that. For the flowers, for the leaves that belong to the flowers, I have been using the yellow green and the spruce green, and that's what's given us this lovely vibrant kind of lighter shade up here. And that's what we want to try and do down here. So I've been just trying to get a sort of highlight at some point on these leaves, and that's really my plan here. So in order to do that, I'm just getting the spruce green, not the spruce green, come on Jem, the yellow green in first, and just putting that in very gently. And then working away with the spruce green and blending it in. And then the same the other part down here. And here we go, we can get a layer of this down now. I found, for some reason, I found that I got much better results if I worked in really small sections with this. Rather than, you know, going colour by colour and then blending out. And I don't know why. I really don't know why, but it just seemed to work better for me. Yeah, even in these darker sections, just seem to get a much nicer, smoother finish by going this little section at a time. I do want this part in here to be quite dark. Okay, so I'm going to try and give this one more of a highlight like this, and have a little bit of white showing as well. And again, this is just to give us a bit of variation. Make things a bit more interesting, because why not? So I'm covering the whole bottom part of that leaf with the yellow green, and then I'm going to start working this darker colour on top of it. I might just have to add in a little bit more of this yellow green. I think my white patch is a bit too obvious there. I'm just going to fill in a little darker bit there. Again, I'm just trying to keep this as interesting as possible. You know, there's a lot of greenery going on in this particular image, so if we keep the variation alive, then it's just going to make it look that little bit more appealing to the eye, shall we say. So you can see that's bringing a nice pop of colour in amongst the green. And I'm just going to continue that theme on. I've only got these 3 leaves here to do to finish these off. So we'll get these done. Oh, this one's got a foldy over bit, look. So I'm going to leave that really pale there. And then I'm going to bring this down under here. I can do with a wee sharpen here as well. Pop a wee bit of that under there as well. Again, I'm just trying to do this quite softly. I don't really want too many sort of harsh areas, as it were, because it's just going to make it stand out against everything else, because we've done quite well at keeping everything soft up till now, so it's quite important that we continue that on. So I'm literally just using this yellow green to blend this out now, and it's given it a little bit more of almost like a turquoisey shade, which I'm not complaining about, to be fair. It looks quite nice. Looks quite good. Okay, I've got a feeling that this part's going to be dark here, just where it's sitting, so let's deal with that first. Woo is wandering about. The phrase I would use is wandering about like a fart in a spacesuit. What's wrong with your dog? It's just wandering about. Doesn't know what to do with herself. Okay, so let's have a wee highlight along there. This leaf. Like it. Right, turn the head round. So this part down in here needs to be darker, but if I just use the spruce green on its own, it's going to start sort of melting in with what's going on here. So I'm going to put a layer of I can't remember the name of this pencil, yellow green down, as that will alter the colour that we put on top of it. So I'll do it down in here, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I want that fairly solid because it's tucked in behind. And let's do the same down in here as well. Superb! Jack Russell's still wandering about. So if we just take a wee zoom out here, you can see we're starting to come together a little bit now. So we've got this little cluster of leaves to do here. And the colours that I was using for those are the moss green and the spruce green. So you can see the spruce green has figured quite heavily in this. And these tiny, tiny subtle little differences are just what's given us uniformity, but also making sure that there is a little bit of difference between what's going on, and nobody really has to, you know, think too much about what's going on. So with these, I mean, I'm just going to keep these simple. going to put a layer of this moss green down first. And then again with my spruce green, just accentuate the dark side. So you can see I'm not doing a huge amount with these, but it is enough to give them some kind of definition and give them a decent amount of colour about them as well. So I think this little vine here will not give it special treatment, but let's deal with that. So again, I think I'll grab my sepia pencil again. That's Bistro, that's not sepia. I'll just give this a quick once over here. And I think maybe I'll use the yellow-green here for these little tiny weeny leaves. Just give them a bit of colour that way, why not? Why not? Okay, so with these ones, I've been treating these I call them perforated, you know, with the dotted lines on them. I've been using the same colours, but I've been treating them like they've been folded over at the perforations. So, you know how when you get, you know, like an origami kit and they put these in to help guide you and tell you what to put where? That's what I'm doing. And I've been alternating my pencil to show that they have been folded over. And just something as simple as that on those two bottom sections now, if I start with the moss green up here, you can see that that gives you a very distinct line there. And you can tell that there's something a little bit more interesting going on, which is exactly what we want. Because we don't want boring leaves. So again, I can do the same here. And on this side, I can run my pencil down the middle, again along that dotted line. And I can blend out that darker section. Just on that side. Oh, I've gone outside the lines, oh no. Just to give that idea of a bit of 3-dimension. And I fill that in there as well. Super duper. Okay, so I think for these fiery ones, I'll start with the moss green. Pop this in here. Such a nice colour that I really like it. There we go, and I'm going back to this spruce green now. And just add in a little bit of that darker colour in places. Now, and there's absolutely no rhyme nor reason to why I would do this or where I'm doing it. It's just where I feel like, basically. So I think this bottom section will be more or less a little bit darker. And maybe this side as well, on account of the light source coming this way. Let me blend that out a little bit, it's a wee bit rough around the edges. And again, I think maybe just a little bit here. You know, we don't want to take it too far. We don't want it to be too... I am quite happy with how this is turning out. It looks pretty good. I still feel as if it's missing a little something though. I'm not really happy with all these gaps that are in between here, but I don't want to start filling it in with things. And I'm seriously toying with the idea of taking this sepia pencil and doing what I talked about round the edges like I did with Seasons by Hannah Carlson. And for the most part, I think if I did the inside and the outside edge, it would probably look quite nice. So this is one of these circumstances where, do you know what, sometimes you just have to risk it for a biscuit. And if it looks terrible, well, you know, for next time. So I'm going to do a little section at a time. So let's start here. This seems like a good place to start. And literally just going to work my way around this little holly section here. So I'll stop it at the edge of my colouring here. That's a good place as any to stop, because that would come up round there to that next part. So for those of you that didn't see the original video, this is basically putting an outline round your line work and then feathering it out gradually to give it a nice sort of soft edge to it. And what that does is it helps take away some of your black lines, but also just makes the whole image stand out as well. And it's quite a nice tactic, and you don't have to use a specific colour. It works with most dark colours, so like a dark brown, a dark blue. I would probably advise against black because that can be quite harsh. A dark grey as well. It was grey I used last time. So you can see where I'm going with that there. So we'll see what this does to sort of frame the image and see if it makes it look a little bit more complete. I feel as if it's quite disjointed, and I know that sounds really stupid because it's we're talking about a wreath here, it's a circle. You know, it's about as joined up as you're going to get. But I don't know, I just feel as if there's something missing from it. So we'll try this anyway, we can see how we go. As I say, it might not look so good, just down to the shape of the manner of the shape of the holly. The other thing you have to do when you're doing this as well is you have to really take a step back, look at the bigger picture and see if it's working. There's no point in squinting at a little section and going, oh, this is terrible, or oh, that looks amazing. You have to see it on the full thing. Now the likes of here, I'm going to have to come all the way down and round to a point that makes sense, which is probably here, I would say. I'm just trying to work my way around here quite gently. I've said this before, this just takes patience. Like, you do have to be really, really patient. There's no two ways about it. And this is one of those things, if you rush it too much, it's you're not going to do a good job of it. It's not going to look good at all. So just be aware of that. And if you don't have patience, you don't have to do something like this. I'm kind of making my mind up about this already. And I know what my little brain's telling me, and the rest of my body's going, no! But I'll just finish off this section first, and then we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Now I find doing this sort of thing much easier with a softer pencil than I do with a harder pencil, just because it's easier to feather out the ends. Okay, so if I zoom out now, and you take a look at that, come on autofocus. It's making it a much stronger shape, especially these parts here where the leaves are much, much paler. So this is definitely doing something. Again, if I zoom right out, you can see that works really well there. But my problem is now that we've got all these white gaps in the middle and it looks really wishy-washy. Now my other thought was to do the inside edge as well, but again, if we do that, we're still going to have these gaps in the middle. So I think I'm actually just going to have to bring in the entire sepia into all the white gaps. And I don't know how I feel about that, and I don't know if it's something I'm actually going to do. You're going to be taken away from your colours if you start doing that. So what I'm going to do is just in this section here, I'm going to go round the outside on the inside edge and just see what that looks like and see if it makes it look a little bit more finished. And if it does, I think that's probably the option I would go. I really should point this out. There is nothing wrong with this image. This is purely down to my own preference and what I find aesthetically pleasing. I'm not saying for even a split second that there's anything wrong with Johanna's line work or her artwork. I just feel the colours that I've used and the way that I've gone about it makes it look quite sort of unfinished. And I'm just trying to pick a method that makes it look that little bit more rounded off and finished. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not appreciating Johanna's artistry here, because that's very much not the case. Very much not the case. I'm at this dilemma again though about how far in to bring this, and I think I'm just going to stop it there. That makes sense to me. At least I've got nice lines to work with around here. Very defined areas. Oh, I've just dropped something on the floor. I think it's some of my festive scatters disappeared. This happens. This happens a lot. It's because I'm jiggling my book about too much. That's for sure. I'm getting over enthusiastic with my colouring book. I will pick it all up before Woo decides to try and eat it, because that's generally what she tends to do with things now. If anything's lying on the floor, she's like a toddler. Like, what does this do? I'll just pick it up and see. Okay, so let's zoom out properly then. Let's take a good look at this here. It definitely helps, I think. I'm not convinced that it's the answer, especially for these sort of ambiguous, like, what do we do when we get to these parts? I would love to know what you guys think. I'm open to suggestions on how to finish this off. I'm really happy with the colours that we've used in the wreath. And once we put in, once we've filled in all the way around, it's going to balance out quite nicely, because we've got these fire leaves up here as well, so we'll have some of that colour there. And obviously we've got the berries and the flowers as well. So it's going to be lovely looking when it's finished. I'm just not sure what to do with this outside edge. So yeah, you guys can get your thinking caps on, and please feel free to chime in the comments and tell me what you think the best way would be to finish off this wreath. Now, before we conclude, here's, look, my scatter's back. Look, here we go. Oh, there's the ones that I've dropped as well. I've got them too. We have the rather urgent matter of today's giveaway, the first one of this year's Cavemas, and I'm really happy to announce that the giveaway today is a set of Arteza 72 count coloured pencils. And the reason for this is these were my 72 set of pencils, and then they brought out a larger set, so I literally went and bought the larger set. Most of these pencils haven't even actually been used, which is why I decided they would be great for a giveaway. And as you can see, the colours are absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So one lucky winner is going to get their mitts on these, and this is a worldwide giveaway. It doesn't matter where you are. If you would like to enter with a chance to win these pencils, all you need to do is go down into the comments section underneath this video after you've told me what you think I should do about the wreath. And I'd like you to answer a question for me. And the question is, if there's one item you could buy from the stash shop, what would it be and why? Everyone that responds to the question will be entered into the draw, and the winners of this draw will be announced along with the rest of the giveaways on the last day of Cavemas, which is the 1st of January. So best of luck if you decide to enter. I look forward to reading your responses to that. And I shall say goodbye to you for now, because I am going to see you back in the cave tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining me, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. And bye-bye for now.